If only we could predict everything that happens before it happens, how many troubles could be avoided? If we knew in advance where and when this or that event would occur, we would certainly prepare for it and take all precautions so as not to get into trouble. But unfortunately, we are not given this luxury, and there are some situations where it seems like all hope is lost. But then what appears to be a higher power comes to our aid. Some call this a coincidence, and some call it a miracle. Our story today only proves that miracles do happen, and only when you least expect them. It happened near a remote village in the Altai Territory. Spring has begun, and with it, the forest is full of treats. A huge number of berries were harvested this year, and the locals are happy to pick them. A huge variety of berries attracted the attention of people: wild raspberries, blueberries, and cherries, and the farther into the forest, the larger and sweeter the berries are. A young girl, a local resident, went to the forest every day and brought home a whole basket of different berries, from which she baked delicious pies and made preparations for the winter. One day, she, as usual, was going to the forest. The girl took with her a large basket and some water, then set off on her usual path. The further into the forest the girl went, the more berries she managed to collect. She walked these paths many times and knew literally every bush in this forest. By lunchtime, the girl had already collected a full basket and decided to take a little rest before heading home. The sun was warm, beautiful butterflies and dragonflies flew around, bees circled in swarms around the berries in the basket. The girl thoughtfully contemplated the beauty of nature. She slowly took the berries from her basket and put them into her mouth one by one, enjoying their taste. When the girl put her hand into the basket for a new berry, suddenly a burning pain pierced her hand. She jerked her hand back and saw a bee which she had crushed. Apparently, the girl did not notice the small insect which had also been interested in her berries and accidentally crushed it with her hand after it stung her. The girl raised her hand to her mouth and tried to suck out the poison, but at that moment her head was very dizzy and her eyes darkened. Then she found she couldn't breathe and the girl began to choke. Her throat was swelling shut. She was apparently severely allergic to bee stings and was in urgent need of medical attention, but there was not a soul around for miles and no one could come to her aid. She realized in terror that this was the end. She collapsed to the ground, her eyes rolled back, and the last thing she saw was a bright blue sky. The last thought flashed through her mind: I'm leaving, and this sky will forever show off above the earth. Then the girl lost consciousness. Several hours later, the girl, to her surprise and astonishment, opened her eyes. She looked around and realized that she was in the hospital. Nearby stood an unfamiliar man and a nurse who was adding new medicine to the drip. It turned out that a real miracle saved the girl, which appeared to her in the form of a wild animal. When the girl was picking berries, she did not notice that a big she-wolf had been following her for a long time. The animal watched with interest as the girl picked berries, but was not going to attack her. She simply followed at her heels, guided by curiosity. When the girl was stung by the bee and she became ill, the she-wolf stood at a distance, not knowing what to do. Nevertheless, she decided to approach the girl and realized she was barely breathing. In an attempt to wake her, the she-wolf licked her face and bit her ears, which caused bruises on the girl's ears. When the attempt to wake her didn't work, the wolf sat down next to the girl and howled. Then a second miracle happened, thanks to which the girl managed to survive that day. Not far from this place, a young hunter was testing his snares for small animals. He heard a wolf howl very close by and was very surprised because no wolves had been seen in these places before, and hearing a wolf howl during the day was very unusual. The man, just in case, loaded his gun and went in the direction from which the howling of the she-wolf was heard. When the man went out into the clearing, he did not immediately even notice the girl lying in the grass. He saw a she-wolf, which, after a long howl, leaned down and licked something there. When the hunter came closer, he could not believe his eyes at first. On the ground lay a poor girl. He did not know whether she was alive or dead, but immediately rushed to her aid. The she-wolf, as if realizing that her help was no longer needed, leaped into the bushes, and the man quickly picked up the girl in his arms and carried her to the nearest hospital as quickly as possible, where they managed to provide her with the necessary medical care and treat the allergic reaction. The girl could not believe that a wild she-wolf had saved her, but the bite marks on her ears confirmed the words of the hunter. She mentally thanked her savior from the bottom of her heart, because if she had not been there that day, the girl would no longer be alive. So friends, sometimes help comes to us from where you least expect it. At these moments, you really begin to believe that we have guardian angels who come to us in a variety of guises. Do you agree with me? Share your opinion in the comments.